149. 500. Hey, get up, I'm not done with my game yet. Faster, faster. 1, 2, 3, go! Aggressive stance. Defensive stance. Berserker stance. Stealth mode. Bear form.
Snap.
I am off to clean my face.
You best clean your face. Forza's full of ownage and porn. Oh. Yes. Hello and welcome to Good Game, the show for gamers, by gamers.
I'm Junglist.
And I'm Bajo.
The PS3 has finally hit our shores, and we go hand to hand with the launch title, Resistance: Fall of Man.
And we meet one of the true gods of gaming, Supreme Commander's Chris Taylor.
Hi, I'm Chris Taylor, and you're watching Good Game.
And with some games having more subscribers than small countries have citizens, we examine the rise and rise of the MMO. But first, here's gamer news.
Joysticks and mice might soon be a thing of the past, with emotive systems revealing their new helmet and software that allows gamers to move objects within the games by thought alone. The Project Epoch systems uses sensors in the helmet to pick up electrical signals from the brain. These are then transmitted to a receiver in the USB port of a game console or PC. The more you play, the better the system gets at interpreting your thoughts. In testing, researchers found that young people were best at using the system. They think this is because of children's active imagination and their ability to believe they can move an object by thought alone.
The legal dispute between Sony and Immersion, the company that made the vibration control in the PS2 DualShock controllers, has been settled. Immersion sued Sony in 2002, seeking over $300 million in damages over patenting issues. Sony will pay Immersion over $100 million in damages and interest. In return, Sony will get rights to some of Immersion's patents and will look at ways to include the technology in PlayStation products. So it seems we may yet see a 6-axis controller with force feedback.
Microsoft have announced they have hit 6 million users of Xbox Live, mainly thanks to the success of Gears of War. Since its launch in late 2002, Xbox gamers have notched up more than 2 billion hours of playtime between them.
Good game!
Okay gamers, can you guess the game for this week? And a huge thank you to Goldfish from the forums for donating the game and the console that it was played on.
Good game!
Governed by the Earth Empire, humanity entered a golden age of peace and prosperity. Quantum gate networks let humanity push deeper and deeper into space.
In game development land, there are just a handful of producers who can actually get their name on the front of the box. Chris Taylor is one of them.
His game Total Annihilation set new boundaries for RTS. With a unique gameplay structure and, in its day, an innovative concept of a new unit every week. Well, it's been over 2 years in development, and finally TA's spiritual successor, Supreme Commander, is here.
And joining us now on Good Game is Chris Taylor. Welcome to Good Game.
Hey, how you doing?
First of all, congratulations on Supreme Commander. Now, how does it feel to be Chris Taylor, God amongst gamers?
I don't know. Well, you know what? It's just really great to finish Supreme Commander after having worked on it for over 3 years now, and to finally get it out there to the world so everyone can enjoy it and play it.
The game is played on a massive scale. When did your vision for Supreme Commander begin?
I had been thinking about my next RTS game since I founded Gas Powered Games in May of '98. You know, over those years, I was just kind of playing with different ideas. For me personally, bigger maps, more units, bigger units. What these things all do is allow the player to employ strategy. And that's the thing that I felt was really missing from the RTS genre was a lot more strategy, because we'd seen a lot of tactics. Now, when we added the strategic zoom capability to the game, we saw that there was an opportunity to bring all of these elements together. Giant maps, big units, massive armies, and it really allows people to bring strategy to the genre and to the experience in a way like no one has ever experienced before.
A vital factor in any RTS is the balance between the factions. Firstly, do you agree? And if so, what lengths have you gone to ensure this in Supreme Commander?
Well, you know, when you have a new franchise, when you have a new game, it's really important that the first one be balanced. So we focused on balance quite a bit. So the three factions are quite symmetrical at the early tech stages. As you progress up through the tech stage, Tech 2, Tech 3, they get more and more diverse, and finally when you're at the experimental stage, Tech 4, you have completely different units, radically different units, which really differentiate the factions. Now, as the franchise evolves, we're going to be doing a lot more to create asymmetry, but we're also going to have to do a lot more testing and a lot more work to make sure those factions are balanced with that asymmetry. So it's a challenging proposition, but one we're very excited about, because we do know that there are people who like the chess setup, where each side is identical, but we also know there's people who really enjoy radical differences among factions. So we appreciate both of those perspectives.
What can we look forward to in terms of support and additional content in the coming months?
Well, you know, we're very, very dedicated to the mod community, which means that we've done a couple of things. We've made the engine very mod-friendly, so that people can create mods and drop them in. There's a mod manager built right into the game, so players can turn them on and off very, very easily without having to exit the game. But more than that, we really listen to the community. We pay a lot of attention to what people are looking for, so when they go to build a particular mod and there's something, say, missing from the engine, you know, we're very, very sensitive to that. And so on occasion, what we'll do is we'll enable something or expose a hook, as we call it in the business, so that the scripting languages can get access to it, so that modders can create mods that, frankly, we had never thought of before. So that's a really important part of this relationship that we have with the mod community.
A good job on getting the game to us at the same time as the rest of the world. We like that. Any chance you're coming down under anytime soon?
There's a chance. Unfortunately, the chance is probably a lot smaller than I would like, but the first chance I get, I'm on a plane and I'm coming to Australia. You can count on that.
So what's next for Chris Taylor and Gas Powered Games?
Well, we've got a lot of stuff in the works. In fact, we've got more projects in development than we've ever had. So I'd love to tell you everything right here and now, but there are people very close to me, they're off camera, who will take me out if I start to talk. But we will continue in all the areas. This is my way of leaking out the information secretly. We're going to continue in all the areas you might expect. I've got some secrets that we'll be announcing later on this year. So keep a close eye on what we're doing, because we got some good stuff coming.
Well, thanks so much, Chris Taylor, for joining us on Good Game. Good luck with everything.
Thanks for having me. It's been a blast.
Good game.
What you just saw was a few of the titles that came out while Good Game was off air. It's a shame we didn't get to cover them.
Oh, wait, I've got an idea. Why don't we do a cool walk?
Like totally ripping off Top Gear?
Yeah.
Sweet.
It's kind of lame.
All right, let's go. First up, we have Burning Crusade.
Cool, definitely.
Absolutely. Good expansion, lots of new content. You can tell they learned a lot about level design.
Definitely. What would you say about Sonic on the 360?
In one word, I'd say Terabad.
I'm gonna go with Uber Suck. You know, it's not cool. It's a sad addition to the Sonic franchise.
For sure. All right, this one was set in a cold place, but where would you put it?
I'm gonna have to go room temperature. You know, it's just lukewarm. The physics engine is great, and the explosions are fun, but it's just too short. 8 hours just ain't enough for your buck.
I agree. Do you mind if I put it on the
I think
uncool side?
that's a fair place.
All right, WarioWare, smooth moves.
I have to go room temperature as well.
Really? I would have put it over here.
No, you know, it's fun, but it's wacky, it's fun, but I'm still waiting for that great Wii game to come out after Zelda, you know, so I think I can compromise and go on the left side of room temperature, but...
Sure, yeah. It's all quiet on the Western front.
All right, what about... You just made that up. What about Okami?
Okay, yeah. Looks different, sounds different, plays different. Great game. And extra points for being released on the PS2 towards the end of its life cycle.
Respect. Cool.
Definitely. Last one from me, Crackdown.
Crackdown. Yeah, I quite like Crackdown. You know, it keeps the sandboxers happy until the next GTA comes out, and there's something about jumping from high building to high building and getting to run over lots of civilians that just makes me happy. So awesome. I think cool.
Awesome.
I've got one more for you, John.
Desperate. Why'd you bring that here?
You lie.
Why'd you bring? You know what? I know you're expecting me to say uncool, but I'm gonna put it in room temp because if you're a fan of the show, whatever, go for it. It's not that bad.
What, are you married if you like it so much? Regular visitors to our forums will know that one of the most popular sections is Ask the Doc, where our very own Dr. Daniil tackles your tech problems.
Ably abetted by our other forum Gloivans.
Indeedly. And this time around, the Doc is going to tackle one of your problems on the show each week.
Over to you, Doc.
Hey guys, each week we'll be taking a problem from the forums and hopefully trying to fix it. This week we'll be looking at Shroudleaf's wireless network card problem. Shroudleaf's dad formatted and reinstalled their computer, but when they went to use the internet again, the wireless network card wasn't working. To me it sounds like a driver problem, so here's my suggestion. Make sure that you check that you're on the D-Link Australia website as opposed to the D-Link America website, and that you've got the correct revision driver for your card. There should be 2 revisions, B and C, and you'll need to check on your wireless card which one it is. And mate, keep your dad away from your machine.
Each week on the show, we like to give away a Good Game shirt to the best review posted on our forums. This week it's...
Good game.
Everyone's an addict. Everyone's a killer. And everyone's a psycho now.
There is something like 8 new MMOs coming out in 2007. That's including the WoW expansion. Do you think there's enough of a market for all these?
I suppose the straight answer to that is no. I think probably over half of them will fail.
The MMO market is a bit of a strange one at the moment. We're not 100% sure how many people are in this market or what their interests are. It's still very much in its infancy. When games like Ultima Online and EverQuest came out, people thought that the maximum market for any game would be anywhere between 200 to 500,000 people. And then World of Warcraft came along and it's got 8 million players now.
If I was developing another MMO RPG, I would be very worried. Why are players going to leave this world and create a character in that world and do the same things. Yes, the game mechanics are different, but the process is the same, the play cycle is the same. Once you've got PvE, then there's the path of least resistance, and players will always find the path of least resistance to the end objective, which is to unlock all the abilities and get the best gear. So if the best sword is with that monster, people are going to do whatever it takes to get that best sword.
If you have a look, there's a couple of trends in the MMO market at the moment. The big one is grabbing onto a already licensed product or a product that's very successful, such as Lord of the Rings or Dungeons & Dragons, and making an MMO around that. And then hoping that the interest of people in those particular products will gather your audience. What they've found though is that that hasn't worked. Those licensed products, they're not pitching to the right audience. If you take a company like Blizzard, which is the developer of World of Warcraft, they have a strong brand in the gaming community. Everyone knows their games. So when they pitched their game, they were pitching a very successful licensed product at the community that it was designed for. So there was no doubt that it would get a large following. These other games are sort of pitching it at your sort of older audience. I mean, when you think Lord of the Rings and Dungeons & Dragons, I mean, you do have the younger players, but you have to think when those games came out or when those products came out, people have gotten older, so it was a long time ago. So they're not aimed at the right audience. So they might be big name sort of products, but the people who you're aiming them at don't want to play MMOs.
What's your view of the MMO scene at the moment as compared to years ago?
I think that MMOs are kind of at a stage where they've reached a critical mass, where people realise that they can have a very social life online with other people, they can share interests, and this mutual interest of playing a particular game is a great thing for them. They're very basic games in reality. There's a lot of depth brought to the character in terms of you have to accomplish a huge number of trials to get anywhere, but it's really a grind. It's just a series of tasks that anybody can accomplish.
Do you think any of these licensed products might be able to take on WoW?
I would like to think so, for the sake of not having a monopoly in the MMO market, but to be honest, I don't think they're going to be as strong in the sense that the audience that they were aimed at and the amount of polish that these games have. To hit that magic recipe is going to be extremely difficult. They're really going to have to create, I think, a new fresh IP and then build on that IP for a few years and then release an MMO based on it. In the end, it's all about having fun. So if you find a topic fun or you find an MMO fun or a game fun, then that's what's important. Give it a go. I say give it a go, you know, if that's what you want to do. Keep in mind that if you do start playing a game, you are going to start getting invested in it. So the more time you dedicate, the more you will feel attached, the more loyalty you'll feel to that game. So that's something to keep in mind.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Gamer Tonight. Tonight we're joined by Hearth Innerside, a sad, lonely little man who spends the majority of his time playing games which should have been forgotten. Ladies and gentlemen, this man is a retro gamer.
Glad to be here, Richard.
Wow, the emo kid is glad.
Hey, just because I'm not conforming to your ways, it doesn't make me an emo.
Cheer up, emo pops, I'm just messing with you. So, Hearth, could you answer me this? What year is it?
2000.
More like 1991? I mean, look at you. I bet you still spend your time still playing a Nintendo Entertainment System.
1991? If I thought it was 1991, I'd probably be playing a Super Nintendo.
Don't get smart with me, kid. I have a master's degree in video gaming history.
Wait, what? Master's degree? You just made that up!
No, I didn't. You're just jealous of my awesome skills. Okay, now for my next question. Do you know what this is?
Yeah, that's a PlayStation...
Wrong! It's a PlayStation 3! You said PlayStation!
I was about to say 3.
Sure you were, kid. I know your type, always living in the past. Probably to cover up some deep-seated mental issues.
You're insane! Why are you doing this to me? What kind of an evil person invites someone on his talk show so he can emotionally torment them?
Oh, snap! Security! He's wearing a power glove! Save me!
La 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 la, so you think you can't game.
Hey, who's that?
That's AI. He's got his own segment.
When?
It starts in a few seconds.
What do you mean
Each week, I'll be giving you the best tips and tricks from the gaming community to transform you from an average gamer into a godlike gamer. This week, we're looking at Supreme Commander. What we're looking at in particular is formation moves. Now, you probably already know that to get in formation, you hold down the right mouse button and left click to choose your formation. But if you try to move your formation, your faster units will tend to rush up ahead and get killed by point defenses, leaving your slower units behind and more vulnerable. So this is what you need to do. Hold the control button down and Alt as well, and then right click to move your units. The fastest units will move at the speed of the slowest units, which means they all stick together nicely, and if you have a shield generator, even better. So jump on our website, and I want to hear the best tips and tricks that you guys have as well. Also, if you're feeling a bit noobish, post a question and we'll see if we can answer it for you. I'm going to also leave you with a challenge. At the moment, to get an experimental unit up, the par time is around 20 minutes. See if you can pull that off and let me know how you go. So until next week, happy hunting.
Launch titles have a bit of a reputation for being rushed out, and in some cases this stigma is well deserved, but not in the case of Resistance: Fall of Man on the PS3.
Resistance is the king hit first-person shooter that supposedly will champion the PS3 into the homes of anyone with an itchy trigger finger and $1,000. Interestingly, it's developed by Insomniac Games, better known for Spyro and Ratchet & Clank. It goes a little something like this. Aliens have invaded Russia, and they've taken over Europe. They completely ignored Africa and Asia, but now it's up to one hard-ass American Army Ranger to save the world.
No, I gotta stop you there. It's the most indulgent plot I've ever heard. You know, why can't we have a superhero from Belgium to rise up and do his thing?
That is a good point. But you know what? Ignoring the plot for 1 second, the first thing you notice about this game is its high production value. It sounds good, it plays smoothly, and even though its max resolution is 720p, it still looks fat. I mean, I can even remember stopping one time to look at my teammate, and you can see their individual eyes glance up at you. It's a good sign of what next-gen detail is to come.
The controls are simple to master, and there's a great variety of weapons. I don't think I've ever seen these guns before in another game, and the second function features of each weapon are cool. But for a couple of them, you really do have to play the game through twice before they're unlocked, and that's a bit yawn.
Ted Price, CEO of Insomniac Games, was in Australia recently for the launch of the PS3. We've heard that you've got some very inventive weapons in it. Tell us about your favorite one.
The one that I probably use most in the single-player game when I have ammo for it is the Hailstorm. The Hailstorm is this big-ass Gatling gun that fires out a lot of bullets at once, and the bullets ricochet off of objects. So when they ricochet, they actually pick up speed, and they do more damage to enemies if you manage to like shoot around a corner. But even better is it has a secondary firing capability, which will fire, where you can fire out the remainder of your clip. It hovers in midair and with this little kind of rotating turret, and will target enemies around the environment.
The Chimera infect humans with a virus as a form of assimilation. The main character is resistant to the virus, so the only way they can hurt you is with good old-fashioned pain. Your health bar is divided into 4 sections, and if you hide behind cover for long enough, you can regenerate up to 25% of your health. There's a good amount of health, ammo, and cover, so in pretty much every situation, it rewards an overly cautious player.
It seems to take some influence from Halo.
Yes, with the regenning thing. In fact, I think it takes up too much influence from previous FPS games. I'd even call it cliché. In terms of level design and plot, the game is 100% linear.
Occasionally you'll find yourself in cleverly created obstacle courses with some crazy landmines, and other situations you'll find yourself in large full-scale battles with human versus chimera, but they're the most fun in the game, but they're just too short, and soon it goes back to linear monotony for another few levels.
On top of that, it suffers from Quake syndrome.
Jung, what is Quake syndrome?
Quake syndrome is you walk into a room, enemies spawn. You walk into the next room, enemies spawn. The AI will do the exact same thing every time, so if you die, you know where they'll spawn, exactly what they'll do, so you can just chuck one well-placed grenade and end the fight within the first second.
This is a hedgehog grenade. And when we get to the point where it actually does hit something, which is going to happen, it just hits that guy, the physics SPUs are activated and tells it how far to balance and what should happen next. Then, when its AI activates, it moves up and then bang. We have 50 spikes that are all moving outward Each one of those spikes is sending its own AI routines and collision routines and sound routines through the SPUs. When you have this much stuff going on in the game, it can really overload your processors. But because we divvy it out equally among all the SPUs, we can do far more on screen than we ever could before.
All right, so I think we can agree the single player is pretty standard issue. What about the multiplayer?
This is the strongest part of the game in Resistance. It's got stats, it's got clan sections, leaderboards.
If you're not a hardcore player, you don't like to get into a match where you're playing against really good players, you can create your own non-ranked matches where you can customize the games to your heart's content. We also have a party system where you can invite a bunch of your buddies to form a party, and you can move into team-based games as a group and stay on the same team.
I think 8 out of 12 of the guns, the inventive guns in the game, are actually in the multiplayer as well. So that's pretty good, but seeing as the PS3 doesn't support LAN for the time being, how competitive can it really be?
You know, I think it's going to get pretty competitive. I mean, we've really yet to see what Sony has done for us with Australian pings and that kind of thing over here, but it's been well received in the US, so we all have high hopes for it.
No subscription fees as well.
Exactly.
Final thoughts?
The game has very little imperfection. It's very well polished, and grats to Insomniac for making a game when they've been doing platformers. You know, it's fantastic. But it does lack the subtle elements which what we have had in better games in its genre. So I did give extra points though, because you do get to teabag your enemies once they're dead. That was cool.
The game is finished and it plays well. What we're lacking is the icing on the cake. There's no puzzles and very little emotioneering techniques or character depth. The plot is recycled, which means we're down to the basics.
It's enough to make it a good game, but not a great FPS, so I'm giving it 7 out of 10 chickens.
The fun is in the multiplayer. 7 out of 10 rubber chickens from me.
So did you guess the game for this week, gamers? It was Paperboy on the Sega Master System.
The arcade version was released in 1984, but this version was released in 1990. In addition to getting points for delivering papers, you also got extra points for graffitiing homes of non-paper buyers.
Well, that's it for Good Game this week. Jung and I will be on the forums after the show, so drop us a line.
Next week, we'll be checking out the new PS3 title Motorstorm.
We'll also be chatting to the head developer of Stalker to find out the challenges involved in developing a game in the shadow of Chernobyl.
And in the first Raffle Cup for 2007, I take on Ricky Punning at his own game.
Plus God of War 2 and more.
All happening on Good Game next week. Catch you out, noobs.